One of the elements of story is point of view. This is the perspective or viewpoint of a passage or book, the perspective from which the story is told. Perspective is how someone sees something. It's their side of the story. Which is the right perspective of a tree? If I'm an eagle, my perspective is from above as I fly over the woodland. If I'm a caterpillar, I really only see the leaf I'm on. My perspective is my side of the story, how I see the world. Imagine the eagle describing the tree as he flies over it on a cool spring morning. Imagine the caterpillar describing his tree as he nibbles a leaf after a summer rain. They each have their own perspective. There are two main types of narrator, first person and third person. The narrator is the person who is telling the story. In first person, the story is told through the voice of one specific character who is inside the story. The text will include first person pronouns like I, me, and my. I wrapped my arms around myself, leaned into the wind, and ran as fast as I could. I was wearing my heaviest winter coat, a hat, scarf, and gloves, but I was still shivering from the cold. I rubbed my arms as I ran and dreamed of hot chocolate and warm cinnamon cookies. I couldn't wait to get home. Notice all of the first person pronouns. I, my, myself, I. Lots of first person pronouns. In third person point of view, the narrator is outside the story. He is not a character in the story. The text will use third person pronouns like he, she, and they. Jeff wrapped his arms around himself and leaned into the wind as he ran. He was wearing a heavy winter coat, a hat, scarf, and gloves, but he was still shivering from the cold. He rubbed his arms as he ran down the street. So again, here you can see all of the third person pronouns. Lots of third person pronouns. If you were reading an autobiography, it is probably told in first person. We see the story of the person's life from his own point of view. If you are reading a biography, it is told in third person. We see the story from the narrator's point of view. The narrator has done research to be able to tell the story of his subject, but the narrator is not part of the story. Remember the eagle and the caterpillar? If each of them wrote a description of the same tree, the story would clearly be affected by their perspective. Those of us reading the story would receive very different information. In the same way, the point of view chosen by the author can affect the information a reader receives in a passage. Let's read the second paragraph of our first person point of view example. As I turned the corner, I stopped dead in my tracks. I couldn't believe my eyes. People were swarming all around my yard, including policemen and firefighters. What in the world? My mom! Where was my mom? We only get to see the action unfold through the eyes of the main character. Now let's read the second paragraph of our third person point of view example. What he didn't know was that at that very moment, his house and yard were swarming with police and firefighters. The 911 call was unclear, but the woman was obviously in pain, and now she lay unconscious on the floor of her bedroom. Since the narrator is outside the story, we can see events from more than one point of view. The reader learns information that the main character does not yet know. Authors make a deliberate decision about their point of view. Often they may write large portions of the story using first-person point of view and then rewrite it using third-person point of view to see which works best for their story. Telling the story in first person creates more excitement because the reader feels like he is inside the story, in the middle of the action. But then the author must be careful to present the story only as seen through the eyes of that one character. First person can be somewhat limiting. Choosing to tell the story in third person gives the author more flexibility in telling the story, but it is possible for the story to seem less personal. Paying attention to the author's point of view can help the reader better understand and better appreciate what he reads.